and welcome to Politics Today. I'm your host, Ibrahim Umarwasi. After 15 long and painful months, a ceasefire between Hamas and Israel has been secured. Today marked a pause in the fighting and the beginning of a prisoner exchange. This breakthrough was achieved through extensive negotiations involving the outgoing Biden administration and the incoming team of President-elect Donald Trump, showcasing a rare instance of bipartisan collaboration. Both President Joe Biden and Donald Trump have claimed credit for the diplomatic breakthrough. President Biden's administration had been engaged in prolonged efforts to finalize the details of the agreements. Meanwhile, Trump Middle East envoy Stephen Witkoff took a more direct approach, persuading Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to commit to the deal. This rare collaboration between the incoming and outgoing administration highlights the complexity and high stake of international diplomacy. A senior Hamas official, Basem Na'im, credited President-elect Donald Trump for the pivotal role in the successful negotiation of the ceasefire deal. In an exclusive interview with Al Arabi News, Na'im highlighted Trump's direct and assertive approach, which applied pressure on both parties to reach an agreement. Na'im emphasized that Trump's involvement was instrumental in overcoming previous negotiation hurdles and achieving a resolution. However, the senior Hamas official Basem Na'im emphasized that the agreement would not have been achieved without the pressure asserted by Donald Trump's incoming administration. According to Na'im, Trump's team applied significant pressure on both sides to reach a compromise before the inauguration on January 20th. Whether the Biden administration perceived weaknesses contributed to the unprecedented bloodshed, Na'im stated he agreed 100%. The resolution of the crisis, it is merely the starting point of a solution. The long and challenging road still lies ahead, as Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened to resume fighting after the first phase.
אנחנו שומרים על הזכות לחזור למלחמה, אם צריך, בגיבויה של ארצות הברית. ברגע שהוא נבחר, הנשיא טראמפ התגייס למשימה של שחרור החטופים, הוא שוחח איתי בערב ביום רביעי, הוא בירך על ההסכם, והוא הדגיש, בצדק, שהשלב הראשון של ההסכם הוא הפסקת אש זמנית. גם הנשיא טראמפ וגם הנשיא ביידן נתנו גיבוי מלא לזכותה של ישראל לחזור ללחימה, אם ישראל תגיע למסקנה שהמשא ומתן על שלב ב' הוא חסר תוחלת. אם נצטרך לחזור ללחימה, אנחנו נעשה זאת בדרכים חדשות, ונעשה זאת בעוצמה רבה מאוד. כלומר, פגענו קשות בציר האיראני כולו, ועוד היד נטויה. כפי שהבטחתי לכם, אנחנו שינינו את פני המזרח התיכון.
The ceasefire agreement includes a phased plan for the release of hostages and a gradual cessation of hostilities. Initially, 33 hostages are to be released over 6 weeks, with the possibility of additional releases and Israeli military withdrawal from Gaza. The deal also includes provisions for increased humanitarian aid and a framework for rebuilding Gaza. When asked whether he believed hostilities will resume and what his concerns were, referring to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's threat to resume fighting after the first phase, the senior Hamas official Basem Na'im expressed deep apprehension. He underscored the fragile nature of the agreement and highlighted the importance of sustained international pressure to ensure all parties adhere to the deal. In addition, the editor-in-chief of Middle East Eye, David Hest, asserted that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was the primary obstacle to achieving a ceasefire agreement. Hest noted that this stance caused significant frustration amongst Netanyahu's own negotiation team. He also suggested that the resignation of Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant was linked to this internal disagreement.
When push came to shove, it was the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu who blinked first. For months, Netanyahu had been the main obstacle to a ceasefire, to to the frustration of his own negotiators. More than 2 months ago, Defence Minister Yoav Gallant resigned on this issue. The chief architect of the 15-month war, Gallant said plainly there was little left for the army to do in Gaza, but still Netanyahu persisted. Last spring, he rejected a deal signed by Hamas in the presence of CIA Director William Burns in favour of an offensive on Rafah. In the autumn, Netanyahu turned for salvation to the General's Plan, aiming to empty northern Gaza in preparation for resettlement by Israeli settlers. The plan was to starve and bomb the population out of northern Gaza by declaring that anyone who did not leave voluntarily would be considered a terrorist. It was so extreme and so contrary to the international rules of war, it was condemned even by a former defence minister, Moshe Ya'alon, as a war crime and ethnic cleansing. Key to this plan was a corridor forged by a military road and a string of outposts cutting through the centre of the Gaza Strip from the border to the sea. The Netzarim corridor would have effectively reduced the territory's landmass by almost 1/3 and become its new northern border. No Palestinian pushed out of northern Gaza would have been allowed to return. No one from Biden's administration forced Netanyahu to rethink this plan. Not the US President Joe Biden, himself an instinctive Zionist, who for all his words kept on supplying Israel with the means to commit genocide in Gaza, nor Antony Blinken, his Secretary of State, who earned the dubious distinction of being the least trusted diplomat in the region. Even as the final touches were being put on the ceasefire agreement, Blinken gave a departing news conference in which he blamed Hamas for rejecting previous offers. As is par for the course, the opposite was the truth. Even Israeli journalists who covered the negotiations reported that it was Netanyahu who rejected all previous deals and was responsible for the delay in coming to this one. It fell to one short meeting with US President-elect Donald Trump's special Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, to call time on Netanyahu's 15th-month war. Both Biden and the incoming Trump claimed responsibility for the breakthrough, but it was the Qataris and Egyptians who hammered out the deal, with Biden covering Netanyahu's back every single time he walked away from it. But it was Trump's no-nonsense approach that pushed this whole wagon over the line. Netanyahu will try to paint this as a victory, or cast maximum doubt on stage 2 of the deal, in which the real meat of the ceasefire and the painful parts of the withdrawal of Israeli troops will now take place. But retreat, plain and simple, is staring him in the face, and it's not been lost on the Israeli commentariat. There's no need to sugarcoat the reality.
Indeed, there is no need to sugarcoat reality. This ceasefire agreement represents a critical step forward, but its success will depend on the genuine commitment of all parties involved. While it brings much needed relief and a halt to the violence, the underlying issue driving the conflict remains unresolved. Sustainable peace will require addressing the deeper challenges, ensuring accountability and fostering trust among all stakeholders. The international community has widely welcomed the ceasefire, expressing hopes for a long-term peace solution. European and Middle Eastern leaders have voiced their support, emphasizing the importance of humanitarian aid and the reconstruction of Gaza. The success of the agreement now hinges on the commitment of all parties to adhere to its terms and work towards a sustainable and peaceful resolution to the conflict. As the ceasefire take hold, the world watches with cautious optimism, recognizing both the relief it brings and the challenges that lie ahead. True peace will require resilience, diplomacy, and commitment to addressing the root cause of the enduring conflicts. While this agreement is a step forward, it is only the beginning of a much longer journey toward lasting resolution and stability in the region. Thank you for joining us on today's program on Diaspora Digital Media. Make sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to get alerted when we drop a new video. I am Ibrahim Wase. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.